Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Or maybe I should say welcome to me back to the channel. It has been way too long. As I mentioned in a previous video, we moved from Florida to Washington State, settled into a new rental and thought it was going to be a couple years long. Of course, as oftentimes life does, it didn't work out that way. And so we ended up buying a house and had to move again, get settled in there. I haven't been out doing much foraging. I've done a little bit, did some mushroom hunting, towards the end of last year. I didn't do a whole lot of filming for that. I mean, I did some, but not a ton. I took some time and spent some time with my wife and got settled into the new house. And just, every time you move to a new area, you're learning the landscape, you're learning what grows there. Truthfully, trying to, looking for land that you can hike and forage on. That's not private land. You don't want to be trespassing. So I've just kind of been learning everything and taking some time for myself and the family. Dozer, come here. And so Dozer and I are back out in the woods today. It is, what the heck is it? It's end of April. It is nettle season. It's actually sliding, I don't know if I'd say sliding out. Yeah, getting close to sliding out of nettle season. They came up early and they're starting already, some of them, to start to blossom and seed, which is kind of the end of the prime. You can still harvest them, but you really want them when they're young, just like anything. And so just out, we're actually looking for a couple things today. It's springtime, so it's limited what you find as things start to come up. But I'm looking for that, and I'm looking for some spruce tips. I am completely out of spruce tips. This would be the time of year they should pop up, so we're gonna hit this trail. Hope the rain holds. It is supposed to rain this afternoon. I'm hoping we get this done before it does. So, Dozer's out here with me. Right, bud? Let's see if we can get him. Right, bud? There he is. There's the old foraging buddy. He's out here today, and he's excited. So we're going to hit this trail and see what we can find. Oh, look at that. That is Oregon grape. And it's just starting to come in. So later in the year, that'll fill up with a berry. Those berries are very bitter. They use it really, the natives used it as an aid. So they would mix it with sugar. Later on, they would use it when they could get access to a lot of sugar and mix it with that and make an aid out of it. It's very sour. I'll nibble on one once in a while, but that's not for the faint of heart. But it is an edible berry, so technically speaking. I was hoping to find maybe some morels, but it is really dry, so I don't know, not overly optimistic about that. We're supposed to have rain the last 3 days, and it hasn't done anything. A lot of young berry bushes coming up. Type of fern. I was out yesterday a little bit too, just for a walk. Didn't really see any mushrooms, but again, pretty dry. There's the way around. Well, there's a nettle patch. Pretty good size one. Boy, they're tall. But they don't look like they've budded out yet. That looks a little chaotic. I think I'm going to try to get around it over here. Oh yeah, this looks a little better. watch out for the berry bushes around here. These little ones like this, pretty gentle, but boy, you get one of the big ones, one of the invasive style, they get pretty feisty. That's a nice patch up in there. I'm gonna get settled, get my bag out of the pack and start with them. Be right back. Pretty good little patch in here. And these are actually nice. The bugs haven't got to them. Look at here, look at the top. Those leaves are perfect. Even the second set, no holes, no bug activity. That's awesome. No buds or flowers. Man, I couldn't ask for a better patch. Okay, let's see here. Gloves, very important. Scissors, very important. Place to put it, important but not required. Not much room bag in here. All right. Head bag. Man, I tell you what, I love reusing these bags with handles on them. They just work so good. And these are kind of short and fat, which I didn't think I'd like. I actually really like it. I'm going to set him there. I'm going to get a glove on. These aren't my preferred gloves for nettles, but my other ones are drying out after washing them. Now, you can do this barehanded. I prefer a glove, but if you're going to do it barehanded, you basically want to pinch the top, and then with the scissors, I go right above the nodule that I'm going to, stop at, because then it'll grow out from that. So I'm taking that top section, and because these have such good leaves on that second layer, I'm going to take those. I'm going to leave the rest of the plant. Now, a lot of people they'll take the whole plant and they'll fill a garbage bag with it. I don't find that to be necessary. I find that in a patch like this, I get more nettles than I get tons of nettles. Maybe not more than I need, but I get plenty of nettles. And so I leave them there. The reason you'll find holes, and I'll show you this here, the reason you'll find holes in these leaves is because the insects eat these. And so I want to take some for me, but I also want to leave some for the insects. Now, I use gloves, like I said, that I'm just not worried about it. But I'll take this down. That's another good one. I like to give them, if they look a little funky, give them a little thwack, get any bugs out of there. I'm going to take that down a little there. If you do this, wear good pants. I wore hiking pants the other day. Bad idea. I thought they'd be thick enough. They were not, and the nettles got right through. So wear good pants that are going to protect you. These are insulated jeans, so they're definitely going to protect me against the nettles. You'd be surprised what these things can get through. Now, this will allow these plants to grow and again produce more, because I want this patch here next year when I come back. This is a really nice patch. They're really clean, and so I definitely want to be able to do this again next year. When you're doing this, really pay attention. Don't be in a hurry. Take your time. Watch your footing. The last thing you want to do is go down into a patch of stinging nettles. Not a great experience. So take your time. Don't be in a hurry. There's plenty here. The funny thing about this, unlike maybe mushrooms, there's not a lot of competition. You don't have to worry about people. I mean, don't get me wrong, I forest with big groups, but typically out here I'm by myself. So, mushrooms, it's like, oh my God, I hope somebody doesn't find my mushroom patch. But out here, there's nettles everywhere this time of year, so not a big deal. And be careful too when you're looking down. There's a plant in here. It looks a little bit nettleish. It is not a nettle. So just make sure sometimes people get in a hurry and they're not paying attention to what they're cutting. And you don't want the wrong thing in your bag. That's all I got to say about that. You can see we've already got a nice patch, nice bundle of nettles. That's a couple meals, several meals probably right there. So again, you don't have to be greedy with these. they're going to be, you're going to get plenty. And again, there's more patches, so we'll just take what we can get to. I'm not going to worry about it too much, but I'm going to get back to this. Swore I heard somebody. I'm going to get back to this, and I'll probably bring you back later. Man, what a great patch that was. I harvested less than half of that patch, and my bag is half full. And it's a big bag. So that's a lot of nettle, several good meals. And again, the ones I left, you know, I just topped them. And you can see even around, you can't see it probably from here, but from over here, each of these joints has new growth coming out on it. Oh, the planes are on today. I can hear, I keep hearing something, and I couldn't figure out what it was, but I think it's the military planes. But one of my favorite greens, I think I like it better than kale or spinach. I do, for as a matter of fact. Easy to identify if you're new to it. It has a spade-shaped leaf with very jagged edges around it. But the real identifier, square stem, and you'll see little hairs up and down this stem, all the way up to the top. I mean, the whole thing. Underneath the leaves, it'll have these little fine hairs. And if you're not sure, if you rub it on your, just give yourself a little whack on the arm, you'll know if it's stinging nettle pretty quickly. When you're researching online, you're going to find a lot of stuff. You're going to see people that are rubbing it on, you know, they're picking it barehanded, eating it barehanded, rubbing it on themselves. So there's some medicinal uses for it. Arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, for example, they'll rub it on that area that is inflamed. I don't know if there's studies backing that or if it really works. I haven't tried it, but I know that it's used that way. This is an incredibly nutritious plant, and it is used medicinally quite often for a variety of things. It's super nutrient dense, and so anything like that, you know, there is going to have some nutritional benefits and some medicinal benefits of it. So I know they use it for salves, they use it for tinctures, use it in teas for medicinal purposes. I love just eating it. I think it's a great green, and it's one of my favorites. So you'll notice me, I'm not rubbing it on myself. I frankly don't like the feel of stinging nettle stinging me. I mean, it makes it burns and it itches. And even with my protective clothing, with my glove on, you know, I was in the patch and one poked its way up in my shirt and got me in the belly. Yesterday, one got through my pants, like I mentioned, and got me on the leg. Now, if you can find plantain around, I didn't find any this time, but I know this area there is some narrow leaf plantain that grows. Chew that up a little bit and then rub that, you know, on the spot where it got you. That should ease the stinging and the burning. Plantain is usually growing in that same area, or oftentimes growing in that same area, and will help alleviate that itch and burn. Otherwise, it goes away after a while, but it's not something I strive to get, so I wear protective gear. I'll do this when I process them as well. I'll wear gloves, and just for that extra caution, because every time I process them, even though I'm wearing gloves and even though I put them in hot water, sure enough, I'll just brush by it and the back of my arm or something will get on there. So that's probably all the nettles I'm going to do today, unless I find another really intriguing patch. I'm getting up into an area that's been logged, and so there won't be probably any nettles in that area. But what I am going to look for this time of year, so again, we're going into May, so I'm looking for spruce tips. I don't have any. I haven't had any. There certainly weren't any in Florida, and I haven't had any really since Alaska, and I should be able to find some here today, so well, hopefully. I'm also keeping my eye out for fiddleheads. I don't think I've got the right ferns here for that, but you never know. So I'm going to keep my eye out. But really, the main focus today is the nettles and trying to find some stinging nettles. So Dozer and I are taking 5. Then we're back on the road. Trail. Woods. Yeah, we're back at it. Man, look at the size of those dandelions. Those are some beauts there. Look at those unopened heads. Those are my favorite part of the dandelion. is taking those unopened heads, cooking those up. But even the leaves on this are huge. Those would have some good sized roots if you were into that. We've taken the roots and pickled them. That's a nice little treat, actually. And of course, you can make a coffee substitute. Yeah, look at here. Salmon berry, maybe? Haven't really learned all my berries here yet, so my guess would be salmon berry, but boy, they're starting to flower all over the place in here. Yeah, there's more of them. We'll have to come back here once the berries take form. Oh, here we go. There's what we're after. Although these are opened up pretty, whoops, sorry about that. These are pretty well opened already. I think I'm gonna look for some that are not quite as far open. Maybe this little guy. Oh, here we go. There's what we're after. Look at that. See, I want them with, preferably, still with some of the film on them. So you pluck that off. That makes a nice tea. Dehydrate that into a nice seasoning. Saute it up. It's an interesting flavor. So you're either gonna like it or you're not. I happen to like it. So I think I'm gonna start here and put a few of those in a bag. Oh, I see more back in there as well. Man, I'll tell you what, I love these little spring treats. There's open versions. There's the unopened versions. The truth be told, any of these you can harvest. So even if they're open like that, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as they're still soft and tender, perfectly good. Again, wild foraging is a funny thing. I love that. It's pretty strong. Now, you either like it or you don't like it. I think it makes a great tea. You know, I've been out fishing in the spring, and you've got spruce tips around. Take your little camp stove out, heat up some water, and put that in there. It makes a great spring tea. These are super high in vitamin C. That's the only one I know for sure. I know there's more nutrients in there, but they're definitely high in vitamin C. So it's a great little supplement to add in. You can eat them raw. Again, you're either going to like it or you're not. If you try that and don't like it, don't give up on it. You might like it cooked. You might like it in a tea. There might be, you know, other ways that you might find to use it. The other thing I noticed is I had a small one off another tree. It tasted a lot different. These are actually very mild, very sweet. I actually really enjoy these. And I see a couple trees with the big ones. I'll probably take some more of those. They're very, very mild, but you can get some that are very, very strong. So I use them in sautés. You can use them in soups. Again, make them as a tea. You can dehydrate them, grind them into a seasoning. I think that's great for use it for fish. Add it to like lemon pepper and use it with that. Makes a wonderful seasoning. So a lot of things you can do with it. I'm going to get back to harvesting these, and just wanted to show you these because, again, these are just one of my favorite springtime treats. Back to it. Dozer's not sure about all this. He wants to keep going. Don't you, bud? Now, one thing you don't want to do, this has got quite a few on it. This is the new growth of the tree. And so we don't want to take them all. We want this tree to be able to grow. So I'm going to take the side ones and leave the more open ones. We're only going to take a couple or a few off of each branch, and then it can continue to grow. Just like the nettles, our goal here is not to damage them. Just take a little bit of a treat for what we want and leave some for the tree. And like anything, you don't need to be greedy. You'll have quite a few in no time. I'm going to move to the next tree. Hey, bud. What do you think, huh? You want to get on the road again, don't you? Enough of this foraging stuff, right? A little bit longer. We're getting a nice batch. And then we'll hit the road, Jack. Great thing about this is that a lot of these trees haven't even started, so I'll get some today. We can come back and get some more later. This will go on for probably another few weeks here. Don't take too many off of one tree. You know, again, we don't want to damage the tree. We're just looking to share the wealth a little bit. And you quickly get a nice batch of nettles, or not nettles, spruce tips. And these aren't something you're using a lot of. You know, nettles you can use quite a bit. They're pretty, but they have a lot of flavor to them. They're pretty strong. So you're just going to use a few of these as an add-in, not a lot. It's pretty strong flavor, a great flavor, but strong. So you don't need a lot, frankly. Probably the bulk would be if you're going to make a seasoning, because you're going to dehydrate them down, you know, and then grind them up. But for eating, yeah, don't need a lot. Just add a little bit in, just a little extra spring flavor. I think I'm going to hit the road here before my partner strikes. So let me kind of collect everything up and we'll get back on the trail. Well, we're back. It was a great hike and a successful forage. I love this time of year. You know, the berries aren't ready yet. Not a lot of mushrooms this time. It is morel season. I haven't found any morels here in Washington yet. I have looked, I wouldn't call it extensively. My time's been a little bit limited lately due to the new jobs and moving and but it is morel season. Other than that, you know, maybe some oyster mushrooms. I haven't found anything yet. Again, haven't looked real hard, But I do love nettle season. These are something that I use throughout the year. So I just added the last of last year's nettles that are dried. I added those to my tea jar. Now I added some Cuban oregano, and I've got some mullein that I harvested as well in there. And that's kind of my herbal tea. I use the nettle as kind of the tea base, so it makes a nice kind of earthy green tea. But if you're like me, you need something in there for flavoring. So you can just add, any kind of a loose leaf tea that you'll like. I like a turmeric ginger added to it, just to give it a little more flavor other than the earthiness. Now, I don't mind the earthiness, but they're very earthy. So I usually add something to it, just kind of like rehydrating them. So this morning I had rehydrated nettles. So I had kind of basically a wild mushroom nettle soup. And I took dried nettles, dried bolete mushrooms, added those to a bowl. I added some dried onion, and then of course some seasonings like garlic, black pepper, and I kept it pretty simple. I was kind of experimenting with, a certain type of mushroom and how it would rehydrate. And so I just boiled some water. I put everything in a bowl, added the boiling water, put a cover on it, let it sit for about 20 minutes, and it was very good. When I say very good, for those that are just starting to get into foraging, we are used to very intense flavor profiles. So everything we have has special secret sauce on it, and a ton of seasonings, and hot sauce, ketchup, mustard, ranch. Everything has a lot of seasonings on itself, and then we cover that with different additional seasoning. So we're used to very flavor intensive food. One of the downsides to that is that a lot of that stuff is where a lot of our excess calories come from. Now, I am not one to talk about how to shed excess calories. Hard to tell by my slim side profile, but I do enjoy those flavors. So when I say it's very good, I mean from a herbal, wild, nothing extra on it. So I didn't add anything to it. I could add a bouillon cube to that. Very high sodium, and I will do that at times. But this morning was just about that raw, earthy flavor of the mushrooms and the nettle. So when you first try it, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be like, what are these people talking about? This is pretty, you're not going to probably like it the first time. Give it another shot. Play around with your seasonings, your herbs, throw some rosemary, thyme, have a little fun with it. But remember, don't expect it to taste like a chicken taco from a fancy restaurant, with a lot of sauces and stuff on it. It's not going to. It's going to be very earthy, but it's going to be super nutritious. And dehydrating them makes them a great trail meal. So you can add some lentils in there. You could even cut up real fine some dehydrated meat. Add that in for some protein if you want. You can keep it vegetarian. You can add pasta to it, rice to it. There's really a lot of things you can add to it, and then vacuum seal it in a small bag and use that as a trail side meal. It's very lightweight, very nutrient dense, very easy to prepare. Basically, you just need water so you can rehydrate everything, and it works really well. So I harvested a full bag of nettles yesterday, and this gives you a ton of greenage. So don't, I'm not keeping things that have holes in it. One of the things you'll notice when I harvest nettles, and I talked about it earlier, I believe, is that I don't harvest the whole plant. Now, I've been out with people, they'll take a garbage bag and they cut that plant off and they throw the whole thing in there, and then they'll compost whatever's left. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. I don't do that. Usually the bigger, lower leaves aren't the better ones anyway. The best part is the top, the very, very top, and then that next set of leaves. You can even go down a second set of leaves. and trim them off. And you'll notice on the plants, how the bugs are kind of eating those larger leaves. Insects love eating those type of greens, and birds eat the insects, and everything's connected, right? So I take what I want, which is that best part, that top, and then I leave the rest of the plants for the insects to have. Plus it'll, it'll shoot out and grow more nettle, and then there'll be more for me next year. That's also very, very important. And you don't need the whole plant, because I filled this bag. I mean, it's a large bag. I filled it tight, and I only hit 3 or 4 patches of nettles. This time of year, they're everywhere. So then the other question might be, why did I take so much? Because I'm going to take more. And the reason for that is 2-3 weeks from now, truthfully, even sooner than that, because many of those nettles were starting to flower and bud out. 2-3 weeks from now, there won't be any nettles to harvest. These are a springtime opportunity, and you really want to take advantage of them while they're here, because they don't last long. And then come, probably, come June, some of the native berries will start to ripen and, be focused on that. Plus temperatures will be warmer. There'll be some mushrooms out. So really you want to take advantage of these while you can. And you want to preserve them as best you can, because you can use them through the year. So just like the lobster mushrooms that I kept last year, that I still have some in the freezer, I'm still using them. Get these out, enjoy them fresh for a while, because again, that's a rare springtime treat. Enjoy them fresh, and then preserve the bulk of them so that you can use them throughout the year. So a couple ways I'm going to preserve these. I will steam some of these, and then I'll just freeze them, put them in a bag and freeze them so that I can thaw them out and add them. I add them into soups. I add them into, this morning's breakfast was 1 egg, a little bit of chopped ham, and then nettle, which I really enjoy. And you can just add it right to scrambled eggs. You can use it like you would use spinach or kale. And personally, I think it's better than spinach or kale. Not that the bar is very high on those, but I think it's better than that. The other thing I'll do is I'll dehydrate a bunch of these. So I'll have a couple 1-gallon bags full of dehydrated nettles when I'm done. And again, those can go into trail meals. Again, I can add it with dried mushrooms, use it on the trail. It goes into a tea mix that I use. And so they will definitely get used. You can make tinctures out of this. You can do, if you're into the medicinal side of things, these are very nutritious, very medicinal. And so if that's your thing, you can use it throughout the year to do that. So again, you're going to harvest a lot of these when the season is right, because you're not going to find them like this later on, or when you do, they're large. You can harvest them all year. Don't get me wrong. You can do it. You can take if you want to make pesto, the bigger leaves work just fine for that. Truthfully, even for a tea base, the bigger leaves. But this is the best time when they're young and they're fresh. You get the fresh tops before they flower. It's the best time to do it. Now you notice I am wearing a glove while I clean these up. Remember, until you apply heat to these, they are just as feisty as they are in the woods. So you really want a good glove. Yesterday I was harvesting, and I had hiking pants on, and I assumed those hiking pants would protect me. They did not. I plowed through a patch of nettles and very quickly realized that my pants were not cutting it to protect me from those. So make sure you've got good pants on. You don't want to be in shorts. And then even when you're harvesting them, I like to, you don't have to do this. But I like to wear a pair of gloves. I see videos with guys that rub this guys and gals that rub this all over themselves and, think it's wonderful. I personally don't like the feeling of stinging nettle. It's not horrible. I've been stung many times, and it goes away pretty fast. And if you're in the woods, I found narrow leaf plantain growing nearby. That, if you crush it up, chew on it a little bit, crush it up, rub it over the stings, that'll get rid of the stinging feel really fast. But again, just wear gloves, wear good pants, protect yourself a little bit, and you'll be just fine. But enjoy eating these fresh while you can. I can't reiterate that enough. Now remember, as soon as you apply heat to these, the stingers are gone. So you can steam them, saute them, boil them, whatever. When you apply heat to these, those stingers are neutralized. As a matter of fact, I discovered we have on our sink, we have a instant on small hot water heater. It takes a while for the water to get from the hot water heater to the end of the house where the kitchen is. And so there is a instant hot water heater there. If you put these in a little drainer or strainer, run that instant hot water over them, you can handle them by hand. It really is that fast. You could put them, you could probably just pour boiling water out of a teapot over a batch and they're safe to handle. So as soon as you apply heat to these, just for 30 seconds to a minute, they're fine. They won't bother you at all. But until you apply that heat, they are just as feisty as ever. Well, I've got a lot of work to do, and I do want to get out and get some more nettles. So I got to get these done before I take any more, because I don't like waste. So I don't want to waste. I don't want them to spoil anyway. So I want to make sure I get these processed so I can get out, get some more, and again, then we'll move into berry season. So as always, thanks for joining me. It was great to have you along. It's been too long since I've been out foraging in the woods. I'm hoping to get kind of back in the saddle here with this year now that things are settled in. And so hopefully the next time that I see you, hopefully Dozer and I see you, we're out in the woods and we're doing something wild. All right, so we've got all those nettles cleaned up. So I took them over to the sink and I ran really hot water into the sink and put all the nettles into that. Now, in case you're wondering, that does not take away the sting. So it's got to be hotter than that. It's got to be boiling temperature water. So that was really just to clean them, because nettles, like any wild food, they might have some bugs in them, certainly have some dust and debris on them. From wind and things. So you want to make sure that you get them nice and clean. So I soak them in the water. While they're soaking, I put a large pan on the stove and heat that up. Now that'll come out to boiling. And then I'll let them go, maybe 30, 40 seconds, minute at the most. I'm not looking to cook them fully. What I'm looking to do is just blanch them. I'm just getting rid of those stingers. And that, minute or less, that'll do it. Especially after sitting in that hot water. They're ready for a quick blanch and then ready to go. So I'm using barbecue tongs to get the nettles out of the sink here. Now, you could say, well, you're using hot water, you're getting rid of some of the nutrients, because the water certainly is getting a little, well, not very much, but a little bit darker. But the reality of it is you're not losing much. You're just giving them a good rinse and you're softening them. You're kind of helping get rid of any bacteria that might be in there. And then the blanch is really just to get rid of the stingers so that they're ready for you to process. Now you can put these in the fridge after we're done, and you can use them for cooking. You can dry them out real good and freeze them, which I'm going to do with a lot of these. But the biggest thing here is we're just getting rid of those active stingers. Now, when I'm all said and done, I'm going to have the broth from these nettles. It's going to be a real dark, rich broth, because again, it's being cooked down. As I drain these, I'm adding the water back in making sure I'm keeping that water amount up, I'll end up with a real dark broth. That's going to go into a jar, and that is just a vegetable broth is really what it is. And so I'll use that for, you know, rehydrating mushrooms, you know, making like a soup base, something like that. Maybe wild mushrooms, seasonings, nettles, and some pasta. You know, there's a lot of things you can do with it, just as you would any vegetable broth. Get those in there. I would say those are probably ready. Again, we're not looking for cooking them. We're looking for just getting rid of those stingers. That ought to do it. Whoops, wrong one. We want something that drains, obviously. The better the tool, the quicker the job, really. Now, I'm not going to do this if I'm going to dry them. If I'm going to dry them, I'm just going to put them in the dehydrator. You know, as I process and clean them off. You can rinse them if you want to and then dehydrate them. I don't do that. I just find they dehydrate so much better without doing that. Okay. All right, so that's my process with these nettles. Again, I'm trying to get rid of the stingers so that I can handle them. Now, there's nothing there. So they're completely safe to handle at this point to cook. Before then, they're not, by the way. So when I put them in the sink, they didn't sink right away. So I happened to reach, kind of was moving stuff around, and I brushed across the top with this hand. And oh yeah, no, they're still pretty active, even in that water. So you need to get them in a little hotter deal. So this is my process. These are going to go, like I said, I'll use them throughout the week. For meals, I'll put some in a freezer so I can use them later. And then I'll chop them up first and then put them in the freezer in a bag. That way they're ready to go. And that's it. And then I'm going to get some more. And for those, I'll dehydrate. Well, guys, well, it was a great day in the woods, and Dozer and I had a blast. It was nice to be back in the woods. Nice to have you guys back with us, and hopefully we'll be getting some more of that in. The nettles are processed, and like I said, now it'll be time to head back out and find some more. And really looking forward to the berry season. You know, we saw the flowers coming on the salmon berries, and won't be long and the native blackberries will start. And then, of course, the invasive blackberries will start. They're already starting to get flowers. So it's getting into the swing of things, and I'm excited for it this year. So hopefully we'll get some more videos out. And then when we get into mushroom season, I'll be doing some more filming around that. So things are settling down, and I'm feeling a little bit better about getting out in the woods. So again, glad you came with, and hopefully the next time Dozer and I see you, we're out doing something wild.